What's up, y'all? It's your boy Vinnie-Dangerous, and you know what time it is. It's another installment of 1430. Uh, I'm recording this intro after the recording for the episode that you're about to watch, with me and my boy Southside just discussing the Tupac "Me Against the World" album for its 28th anniversary. Just to give you a heads up, the video quality sound might be a little different just because we use a different software to record you know us our conversation, just because of some technical issues I was having with my normal stuff at the time. But I really think y'all are gonna enjoy it. Please make sure that you like this video, share, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. But without further ado, let's get into the episode. Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your boy Vinnie-Dangerous, and I'm back again with a very special episode. I got my boy, my brother, my partner, Southside Just, aka Justin Thomas. What? Before we get into it, yo, how you doing, brother?
Good, my brother. How you living?
Yo, I'm living good, man. Yeah, we were having some technical difficulties from the last time because this is the second time we record this episode. But I
hmm
said I could not let the month of March go without talking about this album because of how important this album is to me personally, and also just how influential and very underrated this album is in the grand scheme of things. We talking about "Me Against the World" by Tupac. The anniversary of that album was back on, I'm messing up already. I'm about to pull it up. Okay. March 14th, 1999. So we were trying to get the episode out.
95, 95,
95. Okay,
95.
appreciate it. Appreciate it. I was trying to read it real quick because I was like, yo, I ain't trying to be in my notes the whole episode. But yeah, so the album came out March 14th, 1995, and we were trying to get this episode out but on that date, but because of some technical issues on my end, that
Things be happening.
episode didn't happen the way we wanted it to. But we doing it now, and this is a very special episode. Jess, I'm gonna start with you. Tell me about, like, I guess your experience with this album and how important it is for you.
So this album, "Me Against the World," is I was not introduced to Tupac by this. I was introduced to Pop by, of course, All Eyes on Me, his biggest
Yeah.
commercial, biggest album. But as I got older, as I got into Tupac, less of the myth and more so the musician and the artist. Be Against the World and going back from Tupacalypse Now to Strictly for My Niggas, all the way up until the 7 Day Theory, and even Are You Still Down, which would probably be his run of albums he recorded while he was living that he was able to put together.
Hmm.
Be Against the World stood out to me as his most introspective, as his most thoughtful, and as his most cohesive body of work. And I would argue that not only is it is Tupac's best album, it is a top 10 album of the 90s.
Hmm.
And I would say it is the true and tried testament to when, for internet fodder, when they say Pac can't rap, I would directly point to this album and say that this is the definitive piece of work from Tupac Shakur. Me Against the World, I mean, All Eyes on Me is probably his magnum opus and
Hmm.
an incredible album. But as focused and as ground as large as All Eyes on Me is, the focus and the groundedness of Me Against the World to me just stands out. And it is a and I love it because of it hits so many points that from an introspective, from an emotional standpoint, it
Hmm.
was a very riveting and touching piece of work.
Yo, most definitely. Like, I don't even have to really go into how much this album means to me. Like, I talk about it every chance I get. Like, every anniversary since I started really, like, broadcasting it on social media as an artist. Like, this was the album that got me started. Like, I remember this, I was like maybe 6 going on 7. So it's like 99, and I'm just rummaging through my mom's like CD collection, and it was three albums that I picked out. It was Method and Redman's Blackout album, uh, a very scratched up copy of Ready to Die, and uh, Me Against the World. And I tried to listen to Ready to Die in that format. I couldn't because I couldn't really get past track three before the album just started tripping. And like Method of Redman was fun. It was cool, but it was Me Against the World that really like sparked my real interest in hip hop in general. Like I'd listen to hip hop in passing. You know, my mom always had music playing in the house. My dad always had music playing when I was with him. But that was the album. Like I was still, a kid that was, into cartoons and stuff like that. Like I wasn't really into the music yet. But like after listening to that album and just how layered and how introspective the album is from so many different angles, from all like everything that Pac was going through at the time. After my first few listenings with that album, that's when hip hop just became my whole life. So that's the album I got credited,
Mm,
like a credit for like my love and appreciation and like my career trajectory after.
man, and I think it is no matter the type of artist you are, that album it's like a nucleus in a way. And I
Mm-hmm.
think with Pac in a lot of ways, man, even the album cover, it is a very somber, very you can see Pac's eyes like damn near piercing your soul
Mm-hmm.
that he's about to bear it all. In which the album comes at a very tumultuous time in his personal life and even professional life.
Mm-hmm.
Shit, Pop was broke. He was going through his sexual assault trial. He was
Mm-hmm.
going through so much, but at this time, he's still like his popularity soared. He's still a huge, huge rapper at this time. And so
Mm-hmm.
for him to be able to channel all of that, what he was going through, and focus it, and it starts with the intro, and you hear all of these press clippings of the things that Tupac has been through, and his name is always in the news, and the idea of celebrity always in the news. That um I know rappers have made introspective records
Mm-hmm.
and everything like that, but from damn it, I feel like I'm
Never really
losing
from like this
breath, but
vulnerable place.
yes, and
Yeah.
it was a precursor to so much that like DMX, you could say X kind of came from this blueprint of a me against the world,
Mm-hmm.
from how from the introspective and very, very vulnerable personal moments on this dark and hellish side.
Mm-hmm.
Like with me against the world starting out with if I die tonight.
Yeah.
And just that detailing and then it transforming into to me, it is an essential Tupac record. It is if you want
Oh
to know
yeah.
who this dude is as an artist, flowing into Me Against the World, which is a lesser known pop record,
Yeah.
but I think it's an essential one. And then to me, it flows in probably two of the best records he's ever made, which is So Many Tears and Temptations.
Yes.
And So Many Tears is to me, I would argue it's one of the three pop records. And it is such
Yeah.
I call it a ride.
Yeah.
And So Many Tears is it's a depressing record, but it's eye opening because, especially from a guy on that level, how Pop was in the media, how much of himself, for him to like bare his soul in a way,
Mm-hmm.
which he was good at storytelling before. Pop was always good at even being emotive in records, like, but I don't think it ever came across from a personal standpoint like a So Many Tears came from.
Mm-hmm.
And even going into like a Temptations, which Pop was, Pop always could make lady records for the ladies, but Temptations became. And I didn't even realize how much of a fan favorite it became. It was a
Mm-hmm.
single, but Temptations is such a beautiful record. And shout out to Easy Mo B, very underrated producer from the 90s that did
Oh,
a good
legendary.
legendary, did a good chunk of work on this album.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that man, it is an amazing, amazing piece of work. And then
Hold on, before you
f-
go further in the track list, because I wanted to talk about like just those songs, like
yes,
besides the intro, uh, like when we talk about how this is like the essential Tupac album, like everybody knows the I guess the definitive album for a lot of people when it comes to Pac is All Eyes on Me,
hmm
and that's a great record too. But like you said, I think this is one of his best, and I just those four songs in itself just encapsulates like when people talk about how Pac just had so many layers and there was so many like I forgot who it was, but somebody said that like Pac seemed like it was just like seven different people living in one body. And that just that run of songs in the very beginning of the album like encapsulates that so well. Like
yes, sir.
you got the super paranoid, just like I don't care. Like I'll just go out, I'm gonna go out guns blazing, and if I die tonight, then you go from that to like this very like optimistic, like the world's against me, but like we still gonna get through all of it, like in me against the world. But then you get back to the paranoia, but now it's more somber. Now it's more a desperation with so many tears. And then you go right after that to ladies man, player, like I'm in the club, like just shooting my shot kind of Pac. And that's just that run of songs going up and down with that, like emotionally. Like a lot of people kind of like structure their albums where they kind of keep a certain vibe for a little bit and then they switch if they want to go in another direction, and they kind of just keep it going with like a few tracks. But Pac was willing to go in so many different directions, and it worked because of how natural it felt, like because that's
hmm
exactly who he was. It wasn't just like a studio mandated like you have to have this kind of song, you have to have this kind of song. Now this is just who he was, and it definitely comes across in the record. And those four songs like just in succession at one after another, like really highlights that.
It does feel like, man, this feels like the most, not Tupac the artist, but Tupac Shakur the man.
Mm-hmm.
It feels more so the most encapsulated of who he is as a man, as a human,
Mm-hmm.
first and foremost. And I would say that there was a fearlessness. And back to what you said about So Many Tears, bro, I thought was so perfect. So Many Tears is one of those records where when you play it, and it was wild to me that it was a single on
Yeah.
the album. And but it is a record where I'm gonna talk about like surrounding it. You have a guy like Scarface who comes out with a diary a year before,
Yeah.
which is a very like dark, very like
Yo, it's top. Like might
top,
be my favorite Scarface album. I have to really
a
think about it.
very
Either between that one or The Fix, but those are my two favorites. For
just a very dark, somber, and expressive. But I love how you juxtapose So Many Tears with with the track Me Against the World, because Me Against the World is just this very optimistic,
mm-hmm.
very like bright, like even the production on it
Yeah.
it was brighter, because if I die tonight, it feels there's a paranoia to it, but then
Mm-hmm.
there's this optimism which Pac always had about, okay, we can do better, and I want to do better, and I want to do this, and want to do that. Then when you get to So Many Tears, it kind of it levels the first two records out.
Mm-hmm.
So Many Tears like levels the playing field in it, and his Pac is like he's detailing his life up until the point that he's making the record, and it's a very like in it's a very it's heavy because it he practically kind of details his own demise in a way,
Mm.
and it felt very like prophetic in a way what Pac
Yeah.
was saying. But then you go to Temptations, and it's kind of like, yeah, I know I just gave all this shit about me dying and everything. I feel like I'm gonna die. But yo, let me get back. Let me get back to the ladies right quick. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because that temptations is, I'm trying to, trying to enjoy my night, trying to get lay up with something, trying
Mm-hmm.
to, but there's a respect there, in it. And again, it comes off, it's such an interesting single compared to what he was going through in his real life,
Yeah.
considering that he had a sexual assault charge levied against him. And the paranoia makes sense because he was hanging out with guys like Haitian Jack. And this
Mm-hmm.
is all not rumors anymore. This is in the ether of public consciousness.
Yeah.
And so
And he got shot.
the
Like
Quad
the
City, the
shooting
Quad
happened.
City shooting a
I
year
think it's
before,
crazy how he got shot like the day before he was the sentencing. Like, which is so
and
it just
consider,
kind of you see like the parallels of everything he was going through with the
yes,
album at
sir,
that time. Like just that's almost like the perfect microcosm of like everything he's feeling about it in a 24-hour period. It's like I'm paranoid because I feel like people try to kill me, and then he gets shot, and then he's paranoid because he feels like his life is over with this whole going to jail thing, and then he gets
yeah,
sentenced like 24 hours later. That's like a perfect microcosm of like everything that he is feeling during the process of making his album.
Easy Mo be in an interview, I want to say with the Art of Dialogue
Yeah.
YouTube channel, to me said it. To me, he summed up the album very. There were studio sessions where there would be candles lit, and it would be
Hmm.
very quiet, somber. There were studio sessions where he's smoking a box of Newports and he's bouncing off the walls.
Hmm.
Those is like the two, and with Pop being a Gemini, those are the two things. Like that's the yin and yang
Hmm.
of a guy that was clearly a poet, but also was a loose cannon. I
Yeah.
mean, it's no secret, but that is one of the things that made him so indelible with his
Hmm.
music is that you can feel him, you can feel where he's coming from. And Me Against the World feels like a very personal album.
Yeah.
It feels very like it's like reminiscent of his I want to say the Vibe magazine cover. I want to say it came out of either 95,
Yeah,
where
I know
he
you're
was
talking
saying,
about.
I want the truth to be known.
Hmm.
And it feels like Me Against the World is an extension of that.
Yeah.
Because for all of his dark moments, it has some very, very bright and just even like emotional kind of like pulling like moments. Like even a track like Young Niggas, which once again he details, and this to me goes to the fearlessness of a Pop, where he details the life of Robert Yummy Sandler, young kid from the projects in Chicago, who was known for committing crimes and everything. And I want to say it was MC8 again in the interview stated that they went to Milwaukee. If anybody knows, Milwaukee is very close and adjacent to Chicago.
Hmm.
And 8 said that he was performing and that he did the track Young Niggas, but he basically called out a lot of GDs, gangster disciples,
Mm.
in the crowd. If he said that they almost died that night because Pop was like, "Oh, you bitches, da, 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 da." you know,
That's
y'all
nuts.
claim y'all tough and everything like that." And they did not take kindly to that, but that to me showed it. This album really do showcase the humanity in Tupac, and that's
Hmm.
why there's no album in the '90s that I can think of that comes close to it. Even like pop records in a way, from a
Hmm.
complete body of work.
Oh yeah. Like this is where, and because you could kind of hear it in the beginning, like with albums like Tupacalypse Now and Strictly for My Niggas, like it was what he was trying to do with those albums, but maybe he might miss the mark in certain places. Uh, he perfected with this album.
Hmm.
Like I watched that same interview with Easy Mo B that you referenced before, and like one of the things that Easy Mo B said that really stuck out was like because of everything that he was going through, everything just kind of went downhill after.
Hmm.
And like in a way, this is like the last like who Pac really was. Like this was the last of that album. Because after that, he goes to jail. Then he comes out and signs with Death Row, and then like everything, not completely, because there was still songs on like All Eyes on Me, where he was still kind of pulling from like I Ain't Mad at You, or
Mm-hmm.
what's another one? What's another one? It's so many. It's a long track list. I'm
Heaven,
trying to think.
life goes on. I
Life
mean,
Goes On, Picture Me
different.
Rolling.
All of
It's
those.
like certain
Only
songs.
God can judge me.
Yeah.
Like
So
but
there's
that
songs on
came
there
off
that's
the
still
back
pulling.
of
That's
that came
pulling
off
from
the
that.
backs of a put it like this, bro. There's a before death row and there's an after death row album,
Mm-hmm.
which to me are two completely similar artists, but they are so different in their tone
Mm-hmm.
and everything. And if you even look at like the pictures, like the press pictures that he did for Me Against the World,
Yeah.
he was by himself. There was no color to them. There was no
Yeah, they're all like
brightness to
brown
them.
and washed out.
They're muted,
Mm-hmm.
where it's washed out, and it shows you the mind of a man. It's kind of like, if I go, I want this to be the last recordings that you hear.
Mm-hmm. Like
Pop
even
bared
the fact
his
that
Pop
I
bared
always
his
think that
soul.
he's wearing glasses in a lot of the press pictures, and like my mom had the album, so I had the booklet that came with it, and like a
Hmm.
lot of them, he's just wearing glasses, almost like a guy that's like at the end, like kind of like he looks like he got out of jail. Like how a lot of dudes go in
Yeah.
jail, they one way, and then they come out and they find like religion, or they've been in there reading books and stuff like that, so they come out like kind of dressed a little bit more conservatively
Hmm.
with glasses and like carrying books and stuff like that. That's kind of the vibe I get from the album cover and a lot of the press photos that he took for it. Almost like, saying like I'm going in one way, I'm coming out. Like this is how I'm coming out. Like I've already
I'm reformed.
yeah. And yeah, I don't know. That always stuck out to me, especially for like an album that came out in the height of the gangster era,
That
and
he helped
he really
contribute
didn't
to.
fit. Yeah, like it's crazy because they're like in a way he didn't really fit in like a particular mold because you had, like earlier this month, De La Soul's album finally became available on streaming services, and love those albums, by the way, and I'm happy for them that they finally getting they due. Uh,
Rest in peace, Dave. Plug
yeah,
C.
rest in
Rest in
peace, Dave.
peace.
I hate that he didn't get a chance to see this. But yeah, like I'm thinking about that's the only other group I could think of that just didn't fit a particular mold in a sense.
Hmm.
Because people compare De La Soul because they were part of the Native Tongues, but they didn't. I don't know. I never really I hear their records, especially like how they went about every album
Hmm.
and how like really different they try to approach like their creative
Hmm.
process, and like they didn't really fit. I don't see them like the same as somebody like a Tribe Called Quest or a Common
Hmm.
or like Queen Latifah or the Jungle Brothers and stuff like that. Like I didn't really see them the same way that those guys were kind of like fit a certain mold, and I felt that way about Pac, but even more so because of just how he could do a song that I could hear De La Soul doing, or I could hear Tribe doing, but then there's also songs on, especially on this album, that I could hear like Snoop doing, or I could hear Ice Cube doing, but like nobody was doing all of that at that time, and that's just like really dope. Like as an artist, like because he fully embraced the gangster stuff after All Eyes on Me, like with
Hmm.
All Eyes on Me and Machiavelli, those albums, like he fully embracing the gangster persona at that point. But it was, like if it was a little bit more nuanced, there's a little bit more layers to it with this album. Like, cause like you talking about young niggas, like you hear a song like Young Niggas where like, you talking about it from a street perspective, but that's 100% a conscious song. Like I'm speaking about it, but and then even the part at the end when he's talking about it, like, yo, you could be a doctor or a lawyer. You ain't gotta be in the street. Like you don't really hear that from gangster rap, gangster
Not at
records at
that
that time.
time.
No.
God knows not at that time. It was
Like
more
he's
so detail.
discouraging it.
Yeah.
Like, you could say like Snoop and Dre and all them were not like Dog Pound, they were not promoting it per se. They were just explaining their lives. but they did sensationalize it and make it look appealing in a
Mm-hmm.
sense, like like Scarface, like the movie Scarface. He's not telling you, hey, you need to do this, but like watching the story and play out and just see even how he dies, like it makes it feel, what's the word I'm looking for? Makes it feel aspirational.
Mm-hmm.
Where like, but nobody's actually saying, yo, don't do this. Don't do this. We're in the situation where we are, but if we knew what I'm telling you, if we knew that then, we wouldn't be here.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
like
with Pac
I
having
just
it, I'm sorry.
but yeah,
My
that's what
bad,
made
bro.
me appreciate the album so much because I mean, even though I was as a young kid and I really wasn't that into hip hop yet. My take, like I enjoyed the music, but there was this part of me that felt like, man, it's just shallow, it's just materialistic, it's just all about violence, basically what the media portrayed hip hop, especially gangster rap, as at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that already. So this was the first time I really saw the potential of like, oh, this could have like a lot more substance to it. And it doesn't have to come off like preachy or like you're talking down on people and stuff like that. Like you can get these messages across and it still be something that can connect with the people going through this stuff every day.
And people did. People mad. People connected to it. Mad people took took hold to Pop and what he was saying, and
Mm-hmm.
it made one of the things I can appreciate about this album is compelling,
Yeah.
and this album is a love letter to hip hop actually.
Oh yeah.
Because the one thing you mentioned about the uniqueness and the ubiquity of a Tupac,
Mm-hmm.
I know Pac has come to represent the West Coast in a lot of people's mind, but this is a guy that was born in New York, lived in Baltimore, was trained in, theater and everything in Baltimore, where he met
Mm-hmm.
his friend Jada Pinkett. He moved out to Cali when he was younger, and that's when, his mother, Miss Afeni, rest in peace, where, she was addicted to drugs and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that period in his life which the song Dear Mama is birthed from, in a
Mm-hmm.
way, those years. I want to say it's Meridian Valley, California. If
Mm-hmm.
I'm wrong, I apologize. But that time period in his life in California, and Dear Mama to me is the record from this album.
Oh
Dear
yeah. It's
Mama
the
is
highest
the
charting single from the album too.
and it is, now we spoke about so many tears. Spoke about we spoke about the first quarter of the album. And we
Mm-hmm.
spoke, in getting to the halfway point. Dear Mama marks the halfway point. And even with, to me, and it's the highlight of the album. And it is rappers have tried, but rappers have failed to replicate a song like Dear Mama.
Yeah.
And I think it's also because Pac and Afeni had such a unique and beautiful relationship as mother and
Mm-hmm.
son that it was felt and it was so touching. It is a record that you can be a toughest masculine man. You can cry
Mm-hmm.
because cry to a record like that because it's such a touching. And Tupac represented a lot of masculinity and toughness and strength and everything, but he let it all fall down
Mm-hmm.
to tell about, when he says there's no way I can pay you back, but my plan is to show you that I
You know, I
understand. This
understand.
is somebody that loves, that respects, that honors his mother, and it's such a timeless record.
Mm-hmm.
You can play it now. I still play it, and I get the chills, man.
Yeah.
Even when he kicks off, when I was young, me and my mama had beef. 17 years old, kid
Kicked
down in the
out on the
street.
street.
Back at the time, I never thought to see a face. Ain't a woman alive that can take my
Take my
mama's
mama's
place.
place.
Suspended
Been it
from
from
school.
school.
Was a fool with the big boys breaking all the rules. I shed tears with my baby sister over the years. We was more than other little kids. And even though we had different daddies, the same drama with things went wrong, we
You
blame
blame
mama
mama.
and reminisce on the stress I caused. It was hell hugging on my mama from a jail cell. And like I think that like those lyrics and that kind of first person perspective, and I know it's people harp on the line that even though you was a crack fiend, mama, you always was a black queen and mama.
But no,
And
I respected that because
yes,
like
it's
it's
honest.
it's
It's
honest. Like
honest.
a lot of, and you know how people are, especially when it comes to their mothers, but like parents in general. A lot of people when they want to make a song, and that's why a lot of people can't replicate that song. It's because they're not willing to talk about it warts and all. They paint this
Hmm.
angelic picture of their mother, this saint picture of their mother. But like Pac was willing
Yeah,
to
man.
go, you had your struggles, you had your problems, we had our problems, but at the end of the day, like I love you more than anything. And like
And it's
that's a real child, parent, mother, son, father, son, father, daughter, whatever. Like that's a real relationship because it's not going to be 100% perfect all the time. And like that honesty is why that song is so revered still. Like it's so memorable. It's a song that you could play for your mother at on Mother's Day kind of thing. Like it's like, yo, regardless of what we go through, regardless of your faults, that you had raising me, like I still appreciate it nonetheless. And I think that's why that song won't be topped because nobody's willing to strip it back and tell the story and it's tell it so honestly and so endearing like that.
and you know their story.
Yeah.
It's not like Feeney had Pac in a jail.
Mm-hmm.
She gave birth to him in a jail like she was a Black Panther. Like there was external circumstances that bubbled up and culminated into when this song is like this beauty of a record. And like you
Mm-hmm.
say, just the honesty that Pac shared, and it won't be duplicated also because he was still learning things as a young man himself. And so to therefore, he even took accountability. Like, I know I know I gave you hell. I wasn't the easiest child to raise.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't this, I wasn't that. And therefore, there's no amount of money that I can give you, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like even in the song when he say, I love paying rent when the rent's due. I hope you got the diamond necklace that I sent to you. Cause when I was gone, you was there for me. No, because when I was gone, you was there for me and never left me alone because you cared for me. I can see you coming home after work late. You're in the kitchen trying to fix us a hot plate. As a young man and him being the son of a single mother, that's to me, in my opinion, there's a lot of, and you said it before, bro, nuance and
Mm-hmm.
context. And there's a beauty that goes into the lyrics, into the soul. It's a soul record in a lot of
Mm-hmm.
ways. And
Definitely.
it's a soul record. And it's from the soul and it's very touching. Um and then, as we transition to the second half of this album, I personally think it loses a little bit of the luster of the first half because the first
Yeah.
half is so strong, so
Yeah, for
kind of
tracks
like
1 through 9
poignant,
is like almost it's pretty much flawless. And
flawless.
and then okay, because I was gonna ask you, I guess we'll get into that because I think this is probably where you like so which your favorite track, what's your least favorite track? Because I think I know now that you mentioned the second half. Like what would be your favorite track and your least favorite track from the album?
I'm just go ahead and get started with my least favorite track. My least favorite track is the succession to Temptations, and I even forgot the name of it. Who was
Can you get away?
Can You Get Away? It's kind
Yes.
of like it's
I
lazy.
I hate that song.
It's lazy. It's not as strong as Temptation. It
No.
felt like we need to just throw another record for the ladies and everything
Yeah.
like that.
And not to
It
be
felt like a
cynical, but it almost felt like I'm trying to paint myself in this positive light because of the court case that I'm going through right now. So I'm gonna
yeah.
put myself in like kind of like this. hero role, like saving the damsel in distress kind of thing. Cause yeah, I hate that song too. That's my least favorite track. The one thing that I guess that irks me still, even at the time when I was a little, I was like, I didn't like the way he did this. But even and now that I'm older, listening to it, I feel the same way. I don't like how it's kind of like how her domestic violence situation is
Mm-hmm.
almost like, because he's the whole song is him just basically telling her like, you need to be with me, forget him, he don't love you right. But I don't know, it's just the way that the domestic violence element of it kind of just introduced. It's kind of gross. I'm not like, it's just something
Mm-hmm.
about it just kind of makes it sound and feel a little bit more cringy than oh,
Super,
heroic.
super
Yeah.
cringy. But Temptation is more of an earnest and honest attempt
Yeah.
at that. And Drake, now that you mentioned Drake, I see where you be getting some of them giants from Drake. I see you, boy. You slick, my boy. I see my favorite record. I'm gonna throw a curveball. It's three records. So Many Tears,
Hmm.
Dear Mama, and honestly, Me Against the World. And I say Me Against the World because the closing verse from Pop to me. So
I know
Pop's
exactly what you're
legend,
talking about.
Pop's legend over the years, especially on social media, which it irks my soul when people say that he can't rap.
Yeah.
Pop raps enemies and Hennessy, which he does. But okay, that line, that closing verse from Pac on Me Against the World, the record with God, I can't even pronounce it. Feature name Dramatical.
I
Is it
think,
Dramatical?
yeah,
Yeah,
I think
shout
so.
out somebody. He had a dope verse too, but I would say that is the verse to me. If you tell me Pac can't rap, like I'm gonna play you that verse.
Hmm.
He gives you everything that you want of Pac and more, and that is a personal opinion. To me, he gives you everything you want plus more, and he's rapping his ass off on
Oh
that.
yeah.
Pac ain't gonna be the most overly lyrical, gonna throw it in your face, but that's why people love Ice Cube. Cube got straight to a point.
Hmm.
Q rap, Q gets straight to a point. At Q's peak, Q can rap like. Why do people think that Pac can't rap, or just because he doesn't flip double or triple entendres all the
And
time?
that was more of an
Punchlines
East
with
Coast thing too. Like, which is because now I'm thinking about it, like you don't really hear metaphors and stuff like that from Snoop or MC8 or Ice Cube, and these are guys that are still revered, like whether on the West Coast or otherwise. But like Pac, I think a lot of it has to do with his popularity. I think a lot of it has to do with just the fact that he is so, and especially because he's compared to Biggie, just because of their beef and because of them dying like pretty much like a year after each other, or like 6 months after each other, really.
they're forever linked, but they're two completely separate artists.
Hmm.
You cannot to me compare them as rappers. You never could, but those would be my three favorite records. But honorable mention would be Old School,
I
which
love old
is
school.
his love letter to like hip hop. So many. That was one of the things that you loved about that people love about Pop. I mean,
Hmm.
he's charming, he's charismatic, his charisma just oozes out of a record like Old School, while he's giving like props to the legends
Hmm.
and everything. And so, what a what an album, bro. Excuse me, what an album.
Yeah, let me
So,
cuz I was going to say my least, so we talked about can you get away? That's but I'm going to throw a second one in there. As
okay.
is definitely Can You Get Away is definitely my least favorite, but another one surprisingly is the song Fuck the World. It just, and I think it's more so because it kind of sounds like weirdly disjointed. I don't know if it's the beat or
Hmm.
like the verses felt like they almost like they didn't fit the song. I've always felt like that, and I love
Hmm.
Shock G as a producer. Like he's always dope. That was I
Hmm.
think that's the only track he produced on this album. Uh, But I don't know, something about it is, and I think because one of my favorite songs, which I'm going to mention, is right after. I kind of just skip it anyway and just go straight to it because my three favorites, since you picked three, is Temptation.
Mm.
That's always been my favorite record. Um, Death Around the Corner. That's right around the corner. I don't know, just something
Ooh.
about that, like for everything from the intro, like that beat is just crazy. Yeah, Johnny J did that one. That was a good one. And the yeah, but like everything about the viciousness in like Pac's voice, like just how he just that felt like the Tony Montana, like they about to come kill me, so I'm gonna go out guns blazing. Like that's the kind of vibe I get like listening to that one. I love that one. And So Many Tears. I have to say So Many Tears. Just that fact, I say that that's the song that made me a Stevie Wonder fan because I didn't know that. I look in the book and I see where the samples come from, and like I love the harmonica part of So Many Tears so much. I
Ooh.
looked up the song that is sampled, and that is That Girl by Stevie Wonder. So looking at that kind of sent me down the rabbit hole of Stevie Wonder songs, and I became a huge fan. So it's like that's like the beauty of sampling too. Like you can like I can introduce people to introduce people to music that was way ahead, way before their time. But because a record that I love right now sampled it, I could turn around and like go into it. And now I'm a big Stevie Wonder fan because Pac, uh, or the
Mm-hmm.
producer, more produced that track and sampled that song. So I love the song anyway, but that's just like that extra layer that kind of puts it over the top of the rest
For
of the song
sure.
tracks for me. Because yeah, like I'm a big Stevie Wonder fan now, and it all started because of this album.
Mm. Man, when you introduced that to me, brother, that sample, I pride myself. I'm like biggest Stevie Wonder fan. I was like, wait, what? That I was like, huh? That blew my mind. But
I love
man,
the way they flip the sample, so it's not immediately clear that that's where it came from. But once you hear it, it's like you can't unhear it,
you can't
and
unhear
it's
it.
like I love both of those songs like equally as much just because of that connection. But yo, man, I appreciate you joining me for this special episode. This is an episode that I've been wanting to do for a long time because of how much I love this album, honestly. And yeah, man, I'm glad we were able to pay tribute. Any last words you want to give out before we close it?
I would just like to say, if you are interested, please go listen to this album
Yes.
and go listen to what I know. What you know, I know what you people might have heard about the myth of Tupac. The legend sometimes can out has outlived and out and oversee the actual man. But listen to this album and listen to his peers around this time and listen to the depth of it's not overly complicated, it's not overly lyrical miracle, and it's not like, but what this album does do, it is honest, it is raw, it is vulnerable. It is an album that I think that is worthy of how we give Kendrick a lot of praise from his vulnerability, from his honesty, from a good kid, Mad City to a Pimple Butterfly. The blueprint is all right there with Me Against the World and Tupac Shakur. And I think that Pac's legacy um, is neatly wound up. The musician in Me Against the World.
Yo, facts, man. You said it better than I could say it, man. But yo, this is our time. It's your boy Vinnie-Dangerous, my boy Southside Just. This has been 1430. And until next time, much love.
Peace.